Welcome back to Got the Magnet. And we just got back from a cruise. Sue, where did we go?
We went on the Celebrity Constellation from Tampa Cruise Terminal to Nassau and Freeport, Grand Bahama.
How long was the cruise?
It was 5 days.
5 days.
I know it was less than 7 days. We sailed out of Tampa Cruise Terminal. And how was it?
This is the second time in a little over 2 months we've sailed out of Tampa. We took Grandeur of the Seas in early December, so we were a little familiar with it. Last time we had parked off site and having to wait for the shuttle, we were planning to park at the port, but we got there super early and went around the block a couple times. Really couldn't find the entrance to the port, so we wound up parking at an off-site location that was right next to the terminal. We were able to put our bags and everything in the van, and we were at the terminal within 10 minutes of parking. That worked out really well. We had a noon boarding time, but we got there before 10 a.m. because we had stayed the night before in Ocala, which is about a 2 hour drive from there. It was considerably cheaper to stay there than closer to the port. But getting on the ship was no problem whatsoever. We were actually one of the first groups to board right after the suite holders. That was nice. But Tampa is very nice. I've heard that when there's three big ships in port, sometimes traffic can get a little dicey. But as we were the only ship sailing that day, it was smooth sailing from the start. This was our third time sailing Celebrity. First time was back in the 90s when we went to Bermuda. Then, about 10 years ago, we took a cruise to Alaska. This time we chose Celebrity because, based on our schedule, the itinerary and the dates fit in perfectly with the rest of our schedule. So, once we got on board, what were your overall thoughts on Celebrity? What did you notice first?
They were a lot cleaner, and the buffet didn't open until 12 o'clock for lunch, but we did have hamburgers along the side of the pool, and it was good. I think they could have put a little bit more sauce on there because I really couldn't taste it. They had their muster station like they normally do. As the Royal Caribbean, you have to do that before you sail. Since we were the Aqua Class, we had a little more perks added on. We did the Persian Garden spa, and our attendant that did our rooms, she put in 2 water bottles a day in our cabins, which was nice.
The Aqua Class also included a bottle of champagne, bathrobes, binoculars. Not that we really needed them, but on some of the itineraries, they may come in handy. And there were two yoga mats in the bottom of the closet, which we did not use. One of the things that I noticed about the ship, getting used to Royal Caribbean, is very symmetrical. If you have elevators on one side, generally you have elevators on the other side. This was not the case on the Celebrity cruise. We kind of missed elevators because we were on the wrong side of the ship. A couple days into it, we got the hang of it, especially getting from our room to the elevators or stairs. But overall, I really liked the layout of the ship. We were on the ninth floor, which was one level below the pool deck. We could hear some movement of the chairs in the morning and the evening, but there wasn't a lot of noise. And I thought it was extremely well maintained. We were in cabin 9064, which is in Aqua Class. What were your overall thoughts on the cabin?
It had a good amount that you could walk around, unlike the Royal Caribbean. We had very small spaces. The bathroom, it had twice the amount of shower area instead of a little teeny tiny area. It actually had like twice the amount of room, and it had glass doors instead of shower curtains. You had limited amount of sink space that you could put like your medications on. You had to put them like on the tiers by the mirror, but we worked it out, and it had twin beds with the couch and the balcony. I was on there often, but since it was in the 60s, 50s, I wasn't out there that often.
Also, there was plenty of closet space. plenty of hangers, there were drawers galore, you had a room safe that you could keep your passport, any valuables in, a desk that could be used as a makeup table, mini fridge that had items for purchase, a mini bar, if you will. They had a cabin steward would bring us 2 bottles of water at the morning and the evening turn down service, and that came in handy as we didn't have the drink package or anything like that. We drank a lot of water. Overall, it was a very nice cabin. The latest cruise was on Grandeur of the Seas, and we had got one of the cheapest cabins on board. It was on the second floor on an older ship. Things were a little tight in there. This felt like a suite to us. With the Aqua Class, we had access to the Persian Garden. What is the Persian Garden, and what were your thoughts on it?
The Persian Garden is a sauna. They had a sauna that had steam and herbal scent. They had a sauna with a Turkish style that had hot water but no steam. It was very hot, and a hot bed that you can sit on. 3 sections, two per person. They also had just a hot bed on the outside.
What did you think of the
And
Persian Garden?
it was nice, but it could have been nicer because on the solstice class, they have a Persian garden that you can look out to the ocean. They also had a refreshment center that you have water and also another sauna in the rest area, one for the girls and one for the boys. I tried it, but it didn't seem like it was working.
My overall thoughts were it was a nice perk for it, but honestly, I would not pay extra to go in there. It was just a nice place to go. And during sea days and when the ship was sailing, it was kind of crowded. The first time we went, we really couldn't get into any of the saunas, and even the hot bench was a little crowded. If you're on the fence about getting Aqua Class, it's definitely something to consider, but I would not pay extra for it. Important part of cruising is the food. We'll go step by step because there's different options on the food. The buffet, what were your thoughts on the buffet?
I love the buffet. They had different food that you can eat. They had Asian food, Italian food, different themes every day. And it was 360 degrees around you. It wasn't just one side or the other side. They had different food everywhere. It was food galore.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought on the buffet is compared to Royal Caribbean, which we've sailed on our last couple cruises, so that is our reference point. Royal Caribbean, the buffet area is open during meal times, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Where Celebrity, it seems to be open from 5:30 in the morning until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. They don't have everything, it's not fully operational the entire time, but there's always somewhere to get food. They have an early morning rise breakfast, which is basically coffee, donuts, continental breakfast that starts around 6 a.m. Then they move into the full breakfast. They have an English breakfast section, which is a nice change of pace from your standard American breakfast. Later in the morning, they open up an Eggs Benedict station, and that's where the pizza opens up later. But as soon as you walk in, there's a little ice cream stand, and that's open from 11 a.m. until around 10 p.m. That was nice. In the afternoon, they have an afternoon tea. They rotated the menus to different themes, and it was stuff that we haven't seen all the time on cruises. With Royal, it's very symmetrical, where what's on one side of the buffet is on the other side of the buffet. This, there's something different. You won't go hungry on it. Or favorite stop after the shows, stopping by the pizza place. Honestly, I prefer Royal Caribbean and Carnival's pizza to Celebrity, but it hit the spot late at night, and they had caprese salad that was really good. It was a nice way to end the date. There was also plenty of places to get coffee, tea, lemonade, iced tea, fruit punch. I saw a couple other drinks that were all included with your fare. Also, places to get water. So, as I said earlier, we did not get the drink package. I didn't feel like we missed anything. We did not go to the main dining room for dinner because part of the Aqua Class was access to the Blue restaurant. They describe it as a cleaner food option. But you could still order from the main dining room if you prefer their menus. What were your thoughts on the Blue Restaurant?
I personally like the Blue Restaurant that you can get lighter foods. They don't add the preservatives or additives to your food, and you can basically get whatever you want. The first night I got a chocolate lava cake. I didn't realize that it was vegan. It was really good.
It's weird because with Blue, it was nice having the option of the main dining room. One night I ordered something from the main dining room just because it added to it. For the most part, the Blue menu was really good. And we're not going to sell Aqua Class all the time. So we took advantage of our opportunity to do this. The service for the most part was good. Did have a little hiccup with the check-in the one day. I'm not sure if that was a personnel problem or a system problem, but it seemed to take a while for us to sit when there were plenty of open tables. But for the most part, we checked in with our room number and we were immediately seen to our table. A couple nights we got window seats. Other nights we were inside. And one of the things I really liked about the Blue is it was mostly tables for two, but they were far enough apart that you could have a conversation with somebody, but they were close enough that you could eavesdrop on the people next to you and get involved in their conversation. Met two ladies who were traveling together one morning at breakfast, and we engaged them in conversation. And I think the wait staff may be a little annoyed. We stayed there for about an hour after our meal was complete. So I don't know if we were eating up their tables or not, but we engaged in great conversation, and we did that throughout the cruise. Overall, I liked Blue. We had done that on one of our previous. I would do it again as part of the Aqua Class, but it's not a deal breaker. We did do one specialty dining, and that was Le Chef Petit or Le Petit Chef. 3 words. I'm struggling. I struggled on the cruise. Le Petit Chef. Can you describe what that was?
It's a French cuisine that you get 4 courses. We had soup, halibut, something what I call beef Wellington, but it wasn't really. It was a pastry with beef on the inside and a chocolate dessert. But before you get your meal, they do a filming on your table about the meal, and the little chef there talks to you about what somewhere in France. It was a cool experience.
Yeah. I had never heard of it before. And I'm like, okay, you want to do it? That's fine with me. It was a lot of fun. It's very interactive. They do have several menus throughout the week. So the story changes slightly. So you can do it again. If you don't like anything on the magical menu, they do have something called the other menu where you can substitute. It won't fit seamlessly into the story, but it'll match your taste. And obviously, if you have any food allergies, let them know on that and they can make accommodations to you. I would definitely recommend Le Petit Chef if you're going on cruise. We did get the wine pairing. It was $45 each extra. That was very nice. We did get a couple bonus pours on the wine because it was close to the end of the bottle. So not worth another glass. So he did give us each another ounce or so a couple times. The service was unbelievable because it's integrated into the story. Timing is everything. The layout of it was really nice because everybody's seeing the story at the same time. And there were probably 40 people in there. The tables are spread out enough, it feels like an intimate dining experience. I cannot say enough things about our Le Petit Chef experience, and I would highly recommend it. Celebrity is an upscale mainline cruise ship, and it really showed with the service, the attention to detail on it. I have no complaints whatsoever on the service. The food was probably the best that we've had on any cruise line, and there was plenty of variety. So, yeah, that was one thing that was huge in Celebrity's favor.
We got off of the ship at Nassau and Freeport. And what did we do?
On Nassau, We didn't book any excursions through the cruise lines. Sue saw online a while ago about the Gray Cliff Hotel, which is one of the historic hotels in Nassau. They had offered an afternoon wine tasting and an afternoon tea. We decided to do the afternoon tea because after going to London and attending a couple afternoon teas, it's a nice little treat. We had some time to kill beforehand. So we didn't rush off the ship. We waited until everybody had got off, walked through the port area, walked through the touristy areas right outside. And we did not feel in danger at all. There's obviously, and this is at every port, where people are hawking their goods. They want you to come in their shop. But I didn't feel at all harassed. I didn't feel uncomfortable, unsafe whatsoever. Did you feel any discomfort?
No.
The biggest problem was because you're in somewhere you're not used to, the sidewalks are kind of small. Just crossing the street, walking up some of the narrow sidewalks. But other than that, safety was not an issue. Because we didn't know exactly where we were going, we left a little early. We had intended to go to Great Chocolate Shop. When we walked in there, it was extremely crowded. We decided maybe not today, we'll come back another time for that. Walked around a little bit and found Museum of Bahamas art. I think it was $10 for us to get in, and it's 2 floors. It's a refurbished house. It was nice. They had a lot of native artwork, and on the second floor, they had some political cartoons, which was nice. It was able to spend about an hour, hour and a half there, and we really enjoyed it. If you're in the area, we'll put a link to the museum's website in the comments below. Then walked over to the Gray Cliff Hotel, where we checked in. I think we were about 20 minutes early, but they sat us right away, gave us the menu of what we could order. We had our choice of, I think it was like 10, 12 different types of teas. We chose 2 different ones, and then they brought out the tower of finger foods, sweets, and then there's also the savory, right? And scones. We had already prepaid before we got there. So we took a nice walk back to the ship. The next day, we went to Freeport, Grand Bahamas. And we had booked an excursion to do some snorkeling and wildlife sightings. We were actually the first people off the ship. We timed it perfectly. Went to where we were supposed to meet our tour group. About half hour after waiting, I called them, and they thought we had canceled the trip because somebody else from the trip had canceled the night before, so they never came. We wound up getting refunded, so we weren't out. And it's one of those things, I'm actually quite glad that they canceled, because I use the term loosely, it was cold. It wasn't Northeast US in January cold, but for the Bahamas, it was in the 50s and 60s in the morning. Everybody there was bundled up. Really didn't feel like going snorkeling in that weather or even being on a boat at sea. We wound up getting back on the ship and enjoying a nice port day where the cruise ship was less crowded. Overall, we really didn't do a lot on this cruise, but it was a nice break from things.
On the next to last day, we took a ship tour behind the scenes. What did you think about it?
I liked it. We had done a similar one on Royal Caribbean recently. The price was right on this because, Sue, you booked this a while ago and got a really good deal on it. It was, I think, 60% off the regular price. We got to see a lot of the ship that you normally don't get to see. And I'm not going to go in order of what we saw, but we got to see the galley where all the food is made. Because this is an older ship, they have one galley that supplies everything for the entire ship, from room service, the main dining room, blue, the buffet. If you're eating on board, it's made in this kitchen. We were there during a non-peak time, and it was very active. I'd love to say it, how busy it gets during dinner. They described it as organized chaos. It's extremely well organized, and got to learn a little bit about how things are done on board. Got to see the provisions and hear how everything come on board. They have one person in charge of everything. Most of the stuff is received on embarkation day. As passengers are coming on and getting off, they have trucks lined up delivering everything from cleaning supplies to high-end food. And again, this is well orchestrated. To see the laundry, and it's a huge operation because think of all the towels, sheets, clothes from passengers, everything on there is laundered. That's a 24/7 job. It's 2 floors below sea level. When we were there, one of the folding machines was down, so they had to fold all the towels by hand. Also got to see how they handle all the waste on board. This is one of the things they really wanted to point out is they recycle as much as possible. Everything that you throw away on board is sorted, whether it can be recycled aluminum, plastic, glass, hazardous waste, everything is sorted. They throw away into waste dumps as little as possible. Got to see the control room where they control the engines, learn about the propulsion system on there. There are essentially 2 modified 747 jet engines that power the ship. Because it was designed to sail in the Alaska waters, it is very eco-friendly. Also costs a little more to run than most other cruise ships. It was very neat to see the control room. Then we got to go to the bridge, and they have a lookout there 24/7. He's looking for ships, whales, and in this case, a bunch of dolphins swimming around. We got to see some dolphins from the bridge, learn about the navigation, and then something that was unexpected at the end. The captain of the ship actually conducted the end of the tour, and we got to ask him questions. It was very informative, and it's just a weird feeling being able to have a one-on-one conversation with the captain. One of the things is he was pointing out that since we were sailing out of Tampa and arriving the next day, he had to wake up at 1:45 in the morning. The pilot who navigates the ship in the channel was getting on board at 2:30 because it's a 3 to 4 hour ride through the channel from the Gulf to the port of Tampa. That was a long day for the captain. Overall, I thought it was a really good experience with the behind the scenes tour. I learned a lot, even on top of what we had learned on the Royal a couple of months ago. What were your thoughts on the behind the scenes tours?
I liked it. And as what you said, that they only used the one kitchen for all of the restaurants and the buffets. They also use escalators going up and down from where they have to go because they're on different floors. The buffet is on deck 10, so they have to go from deck 2 to deck 10 or to deck 2 to deck 3.
Yeah, that's important. So if you're on one of the different floors for your main dining room experience, be patient with the staff because while you're sitting there, they're actually running down a floor or two to get your food. But it's all a well organized, and running an operation like a cruise ship, it's not easy. And the behind the scenes tour points out how detailed everything is. One of the other big parts of a cruise is entertainment. What did you think of the entertainment?
I enjoyed some. The first night of the production show, it was like Las Vegas show, but we've seen so many of them that it was okay. I liked the magician and the singer. We did talk to some people because a lot of them had afternoon matinee shows at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We didn't go to any of them. Some people say that they didn't really like the afternoon matinee shows than the evening shows. The evening shows were much better than the afternoon shows.
What did you think of the comedian the first night?
He was really good.
He was good. The first night show was an all ages, so it was very clean. And he kept teasing, come back in a couple nights, he's doing an over 18 show. We did go to the 10 o'clock all ages show, and he promised us a very raunchy show that would offend us. We talked to a bunch of people, and nobody seemed offended by that show. I joked I was offended that I wasn't offended, but he was very funny. People were repeating some of his jokes all throughout the cruise. Overall, he was really good. A female singer who did covers of a bunch of women singers from Miley Cyrus, Whitney Houston, Donna Summer, Barbara Streisand. She did a whole range of women who influenced music from back in the 60s up until present day. The magician, he was really good, very personable. All these people are signed with the cruise line. So they go from ship to ship and they do their act. They know their audience well and they tailor their shows towards a cruise audience. And most of them have been with the cruise lines for a while. So if they weren't doing a good job, if they didn't get positive feedback, I don't think that they would be asked back. I agree with you on the production shows. They weren't bad, but none of them really wowed us. It was songs that we were familiar with. It was entertaining. Would I pay to see them again? No, but they are nice because the entertainment is included, your fare. The one thing that I missed on this cruise that I've enjoyed on previous cruises was there wasn't a piano bar where you could have sing-alongs throughout the night. Even though this was only our third cruise with Celebrity, we still have status with their loyalty program because of our status with Royal Caribbean. They're owned by the same parent company. We were select class, and that gave us a couple perks for this cruise. The first one was we got a backstage tour with the cast of the production shows. And what'd you think of the backstage tour?
It was good. They did answer and question session with the dancer. I know ships, especially on Royal, they would show you the lighting area and how that works, but they didn't do that. They only showed us the backstage where all their costumes was and their seatings and the lighting and how much space that they had, which wasn't very big. They also showed us how they raise the stage up and down because there were different levels of the stage. That was neat to see.
It's always nice to see how much goes into these 45-minute production shows, how many costume changes, how many people are behind the scenes to make this happen. It's amazing they can do this while at sea. Plus, we started off the morning with a complimentary glass of champagne. You get to chat with the staff and you get to learn a little more about what cruise life is like. And this happened to be the last day before the current cast signed off and the new cast members came on board for their next contracts.
So on the ship, we did a couple of whiskey tastings. And what did you think of them?
The whiskey was good. It was Whistle Pig and Rabbit Hole. I don't think we've ever tried either of them before. So that's one of the reasons this was a paid tasting experience. It was nice, but we've been to Kentucky and done the Bourbon Trail a couple of times. We're familiar with how bourbon's made, the different things to look for on it. That was lost on us. I think this would be a better match for somebody who maybe hadn't been to the Bourbon Trail and had limited knowledges on bourbon. The bourbons, we had little pours on it, and it was good. We got to know what we liked, what we didn't like, and we actually got a second pour of our favorite on both of them. The real highlight of it is there were a bunch of bourbon lovers at the table with us. There was 8 to 10 people at the tasting. We wound up talking for even after the thing was done, hanging out, just talking about bourbon, about different things in general. I think, again, we were talking to one couple for like an hour after the experience was over and only left because we had a dinner reservations. Would I pay for it again? Almost 100% not. And not taking away from the experience, it just was waste on us. I would have rather spent the money, sat at the bar, and tried a couple of full pours. With being an Aqua Class, what were your overall thoughts on Aqua Class? Do you think it was worth it?
To me, I thought it was worth it. We got to experience the Blue Restaurant, which I really liked, the Persian Garden, the spa, which I enjoyed, but it could have been a little better. We got the balcony that we used a couple times in the cruise. Since it was a little cold, we couldn't stay out there that long.
I enjoyed the Aqua, and honestly, I didn't remember booking Aqua Class when we initially did this. It must not have been that much more than a standard room, or else I probably wouldn't have booked it. I too like the features of it, the access to the blue, the Persian garden, but included a bottle of champagne, which was nice because we did use that on the balcony one day. It was actually the day in Freeport that our excursion got canceled on us. They had at the buffet an English tea. We went upstairs, we got the finger foods and the different things from the English tea and enjoyed the bottle of champagne on the balcony overlooking the port of Freeport. And I thought that was really nice. Would I get Aqua Class again? Oh yeah, definitely. Would I pay a lot more for it? Probably not. But if the time and everything does come up, we will definitely look at booking Aqua Class again. What were your overall thoughts on Celebrity, this cruise specifically? Any last minute comments?
I enjoyed Celebrity over Royal Caribbean because it's not more of the cruise ship, but it seems that it's cleaner. They're more friendlier than the staff on Royal Caribbean. Like our stewardess, we asked her to put 2 water bottles in our cabin. And there were some days we come back and there's 4 water bottles in our cabin. And we would get chocolates on our bed at nighttime. I thought the food was better than the Royal Caribbean. And you get more choices of what you can eat or what you want to eat.
I agree with you that Celebrity is definitely a notch above. They still have the twice a day turn down service in the evening. They make your bed and they service your cabin in the morning. They still have the printed daily planners. While on other ships they are still available, you have to ask for them specifically. It's nice having that physical piece of paper, especially when you come back to your cabin after a long day. You can look and say, oh, this is what's on tap for tomorrow. Overall, I really liked Celebrity. It is an older clientele. Met a lot of people in their 60s and 70s. Probably a handful of children. I heard there were 42 children on board. Not sure how accurate that is, but based on what we saw, that was a reasonable number. They do have kids centers for activities. Didn't see much activity going on there. They don't have as many bells and whistles on this ship as on other Carnival and Royal Caribbean because they're going after demographics that are different. Those two are more geared towards families, where this is geared towards older adults with the people who are looking for that extra oomph. Overall, really liked it. One of the things that says a lot, and I have not seen this before on a cruise, is as we're getting off of the ship, the cruise director and the captain are seeing all of us off, wishing us a safe journey home. That little thing really helps with them. We do have another one already planned with them for August. We have a couple other cruises planned on Royal Caribbean and Carnival later this year into early next year. But Celebrity will definitely be part of our cruising in the future. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to Got the Magnet to see more of our cruise content.